Whew. So, hey folks, this is probably the longest between seeing the episode and recording my thoughts I've gone in the last few seasons because I really needed a minute after this episode, but we'll get into it. Before we do, though, I do want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's video over on Twitter, at Mr. A4769, at FoxTun2X, at Nacho Gashardo, at #Nauto, at Deep Not That Deep, and at CatPassTweet. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video, everybody, and thank all of you who joined me on the adventure that we went on, this viewing adventure. Thanks for supporting the videos as long as everybody has been, and it's been a pleasure. This is easily one of my anime of the season, if not the anime of the season. I still need to kind of sort out that, but it's easily one of my favorite anime I've seen this whole friggin' decade. But without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get into this week's finale, episode 24, End of Prologue. Saying goodbye to characters sucks. It obviously doesn't hurt as much as losing a real person, but it still sucks, because these characters, especially when it comes to seasonal anime, right, when you're watching week by week as opposed to all in one sitting, these characters sort of inhabit your mind for a little bit, like over the course of whatever particular anime season you're watching it in. So when they go, even at the end here, it still hurts, and it sucks saying goodbye to characters, especially when there's someone as interesting as Ashlad was, and it sucks. Ashlad, like, no joke, is far and away the best antagonist of this entire year, one of the more interesting characters of this entire year, and easily one of the most fascinating antagonists of this decade. I would, honest to God, put Ashlad's name in for one of the antagonists of the decade, let alone this year. And his exit is so perfect that I can't even be upset, because it's just perfectly handled. Look at me, I have all my notes in chronological order, and I just couldn't help myself. I had to jump ahead and talk about Ashlad right away, because, I don't know, it's such a perfect little wrap-up of everything. See, like, the way his character starts, the way we're introduced to him, where we leave his character, it's such a little perfect character study of this dude. Over the course of 24 episodes, you get to see all aspects of Ashlad from start to finish, and it's just an awesome character journey, and he's not even technically the main character. It's just, I don't know. I had to jump ahead and talk about Ashlad briefly, but yeah, it's, can you tell this episode really rocked me emotionally? Because I'm having a really difficult time stringing words together right now, which normally is not a problem for me. I don't know if you guys know this, but I happen to talk a lot, so for a show to really floor me like this, that's saying something. Alright, so we're going down the list here. We're gonna go chronological order through the episode. I just had to get my thoughts on Ashlad out there first, and then we'll talk more about Ashlad as we go, but for now I just kind of wanted to go through the episode bit by bit by bit. What better place to start when we're talking chronologically than with the episode title itself, before even really getting into the episode. I'm sorry, this thing's called End of Prologue? What the hell does that supposed to mean? What is this, Kingdom Hearts 2? That is one lengthy-ass prologue, my guy. Like, Jesus. Well, and that's the thing, too, is a lot of manga fans were shocked when the show started, because it was adding prologue to what we now know to be prologue. So that's insane, because I had seen that the episode title was gonna be End of Prologue, and that really made me curious, so I asked a buddy of mine, and he was like, oh, bro, like, that is exactly what it says on the tin, which really did give me Kingdom Hearts 2 flashbacks. Like, End of Prologue? What the heck? Like, didn't that feel like knowing that this was all prologue, do you not feel as though Thorfinn is looking mighty similar to Roxas all of a sudden? I ain't saying appearance-wise, I'm just saying, like, that's some hefty prologue, my guy. And then the episode begins, and Ashlad makes a decision that I know why he made the decision. I understand why the council has made this decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I have elected to be enraged by it. Ashlad decides to stand up for Wales. And at first, I'm thinking, what are you thinking? I'm just sitting there going, why couldn't you have just waited? Why couldn't you have just held it in for a little bit, Ashlad? But when he says, like, listen, if it's Wales, I'm not backing down on this. You have, like, when he's looking at Kenneth, he's like, listen, Prince, you know that I'm with you, but if it's Wales, I can't back down on this. And he's just, the king and him are talking. They're having this little tete-a-tete, and they're playing all chummy, and the king, like the slimy, slippery snake that he is, basically is just like, it's Kenneth or Wales, and you have to pick right now. And of course, Ashlad's like, pick. You might have a crown on your head, but you don't get to tell me shit. And the fact that we know that Ashlad's answer was both, legend. I wanted to be really mad. When he made the objection, I wanted to be mad, but I was too curious to see what it was that Ashlad was playing at. And then when you find out that it's, like, a part of it is rage, right? Because the king says, like, the only thing that comes out of Wales is slaves. And of course, Ashlad's like, I'll kill him. Like, I'll kill you right now. Like, you can see his eyes, right? He's furious. And, I mean, I feel him. I'd be pissed too. But at the same time, like, when he turns to the king with those eyes, right? Like, those eyes full of hate, full of salt and vinegar. And he just, just glares at this dude. In my head, I'm thinking, like, he's gonna kill the king right here. And I was thinking, like, this feels weird. Like, this doesn't feel like something Ashlad would do. Ashlad's so cold and calculated. Like he would have felt that rage for sure, because we've seen him, like, that inner hate was boiling over, and he was reaching that point of just being done with everything. Like, he had just reached the point of, like, all I needed to do was find Artorias. I found a new hero to save this place, so that's good enough. So on some level, you can tell Ashlad was just thinking, like, I'm done. I'm over this. So I can understand him feeling that, like, rage bubbling over, but I still felt like that's weird. Like, Ashlad should definitely have had a plan. And as I'm thinking that, I should have been thinking, oh, I'm stupid, they're playing me. Because that's exactly what happens. I do think on some level, him killing the king was a rage moment where he was just rage quitting on his plan, but at the same time, he really wasn't, because it was all according to Keikaku. It was all according to plan, and I was just foolish for thinking that Ashlad didn't have a plan, because Ashlad has plans upon plans. He has contingency plans upon contingency plans. He's like Batman, but a Viking. What killed me in particular was the scene that followed, and that's where we see Leif, who I'm always happy to see, and Leif, you guys know, I'm not even going to go over it again, but Leif had the best scene in last week's episode, so I was happy to see him. And who do we see walking alongside Leif? But it's Thorfinn. And Thorfinn steps on the boat. And I'm thinking, oh my god, we're actually going to get the hell out of here. Good for you, Thorfinn. Everything's going to plan. And then this bird lands on the boat. Now, I'm not a bird guy, so I don't know what particular species of bird this was. But it had some kind of significance, because the look Thorfinn gives this thing is this sort of sign that he knew something was up. He just the way this bird lands and the way it sort of gives him this look, it just sort of glances in his direction, and then it gets spooked by something and it flies off, and Thorfinn watches it fly away, and without any words needing to be exchanged, he knows something's wrong, and Thorfinn bolts. Like, he also is like Viking Batman, because by the time Leif turns around, he's just gone, and Leif became Commissioner Gordon, and that broke my heart, because Leif for a second thought, I did it, Thors. I got the boy, taking him home. That's my promise to your wife and your daughter. That's my promise to you. I got the boy, taking him home. I did it. And Thorfinn ruined it. Thorfinn just bolts. And the panic on Leif's face just broke my heart. But that scene was really well handled. Again, really well directed. And just that moment where Thorfinn knows something's up. it's like a sign from the heavens in that moment. Like Thorfinn just like fate itself was telling Thorfinn like, hey man, you better get to the dining hall because some shit's going down. And Thorfinn just knows something's up, knows that it's probably not a good omen, just bolts. And what he finds is very troubling. I'm sorry, did I say troubling? I meant fucking badass. What Thorfinn finds inside the hall is not Aslad, no. It is Lucius, Artorius, Custis. Oh, that to quote The Miz, that was awesome. I was so blown away. I cannot stress how badass that moment was where he says like, I am the true king of all of Britannia and you ain't shit. And he cuts the king down, cuts his head off clean. Like that scene. That was dope as hell and well deserved, I would say. The king was slippery and slimy as could be, and I'm glad he's gone. Trying to take out my boy Connacht, and Connacht gets some huge growth in this week's episode, but we're not talking about Connacht right now. We're talking about Lucius Artorius Connus. That was quite the badass moment. I'm not gonna lie. I was shocked. I gasped out loud. In that moment too, like I was like hype. And that's the thing about Vinland Saga, right? It gets you feeling so many different emotions because I was hype, and then at the same time I was sad because I was like, oh, we're gonna die. Like, I just knew. I was like, oh, and he's dead. Ashlad's dead. Aw, shit. Because that moment is great. It's super hype and badass, don't get me wrong. Seeing the king's head just fly gently like a little butterfly off his shoulders, it was dope and well deserved. But at the same time I was like, oh, you don't kill a king and get away with it. Like, I just knew. I was like, oh, this is gonna end poorly. And then that leads to what can basically be described as Ashlad's last stand, but also Ashlad's final game-playing moment and his final act on the stage, if you will. Because this is where it's revealed that it was all according to Keikaku. It was all according to plan. Although I don't think that this was the plan going into the dining hall. I just think that Aslad was presented a decision. And so he goes, okay, so you're telling me that I have to pick between the prince and Wales. I'm telling you to shove it up your ass, and I'm picking both. And the way he does that is by making what we like to call around here the sacrifice play. We knew he was willing to do it, but to actually see him go through with it, it's tough to watch, but at the same time, it's badass. Like, Aslad playing the villain, you know what I mean? Again, Aslad is like Viking Batman, you know? He's the hero the Vikings need, but not the one they deserve. He's playing the villain to get over Prince Connacht as this grand, badass king who can lead them properly and usher in a new era of peace and just a new beginning for these people. And in order to get that to happen, Aslad has to die. And so did the king, but it also meant that Ashlad's head was going along with us. And it's tough. Like, it's so badass, but at the same time, it's so tough because you're like, you're hyped because you're like, yeah, we got Aslad whooping tail, cutting through people like cake. It's awesome, but at the same time, you know, this is it. Like, it's the last episode. He killed the king. He's already wounded. He's not in his prime anymore. This is it. So it's this sort of bittersweet moment. And when he goes toe to toe with Floki, I was like, ooh, get him, cut him down, yeah. And this is the moment where Thorfinn's like, oh, yep, that freaking idiot. So Thorfinn's running in, and this moment I was like, okay, one of a few things can happen here. And what I thought was gonna happen was that Thorfinn was gonna jump in and maybe like get pushed away by Aslad, and that would give Floki the chance to run him through. That's not what happened. What happens is that Thorfinn is too late to see a surprise attack from the prince himself. Connacht has this conversation with Thorkel, and Thorkel buys the whole act hook, line, and sinker. And I mean, like, let's face it, he's not the brightest bulb in the bunch. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he bought it. So, and I mean, like, that's fair. Thorkel's a fighter. He's not a thinker. Like, come on, cut him some slack. He couldn't see through that. But Thorkel saying like, oh, he's gone mad, friggin', that sucks. I don't want to fight him now. But then the prince, of course, like sees right through this, and they had that little nod, like not a nod, but they just kind of glanced at each other, Ashlad and Prince Connacht, and the two of them knew what was happening. So the prince is like, I almost kind of wish the prince didn't, because it didn't need explaining, you know what I mean? Like, it was really clear what was happening, but I guess maybe for somebody it needed explaining that the prince knew, and so they have that line of him saying, like, he's not mad, he's playing the villain to get us into a position where we'll be okay. And he tells Thorkel, like, I'll, like, let him fight for a bit, and then I'll give you the opening, and you can take him down. And Thorkel's like, no, that's boring. I don't want anything to do with that. Besides, a dog should be handled by his own master. God damn. I hate to say it, but he's right. Because for me, that particular moment hadn't quite arrived yet. I knew that Ashlad had to die to make it easier for Prince Connacht to become King Connacht by the end of this. But I didn't think Connacht would be the one to have to kill Ashlad, so that's why I didn't see that coming at all. Just like the way that Ashlad goes out was a total shock, because I had assumed it would be Floki or something like that, because of Thorfinn maybe costing him a precious couple seconds. But no, it was the prince himself, and it's a tearjerker, man. It's tough to watch, and that line of like, is that the first time you stabbed anybody? Good job. Because he got him right where it hurts. Like, he stabbed him at the precise place he had to. And it's interesting, too, because when you think about it, when he was watching the fight with Bjorn, Ashlad says, oh, I missed the heart. Let me try again. And maybe the prince was watching with a closer eye than we thought. I doubt it. But I do think it's interesting that a couple episodes prior we had that scene, and now we get this scene. So, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. Like, if I'm real with you guys, I don't want to talk about it because it's so soon, and it hurts. Losing, for some reason, I get so overly attached to fictional people, and I assume for a couple people that has to be a little bit relatable, because I'm sure there's some other people who feel the same way that I do. But I get too involved in fictional stories. I get too attached to fictional characters. And it's too soon. Like, some characters' deaths just a hit. Like Bjorn's hits, Thor's hits, Ashlad hit. Like, this show knows how to send people off. And it's just, I don't want to talk about it. It just hurts. And that scene where Thorkel shows up beside the prince and just tells him, like, hey, you stand up tall now. You were given this moment on the stage. Don't waste it. And it's like, that respect. That respect from Thorkel to Ashlad, from Thorkel to the prince, for this whole plan, and that moment of him saying, like, Ashlad died to give you this moment so you don't waste this moment. That's such a, like don't waste, not even just this moment, this life. You don't waste it. This opportunity to unite these people and bring about peace, you don't waste that. Because like Lucius Artorius Castus over there gave you that chance. And that's some heavy stuff. And here's the craziest part. I'm all kinds of emotional talking about this. I haven't even gotten to Thorfinn saying goodbye to Ashlad yet. How do you plan to live your life? That hit like a damn truck, because you know Thorfinn never thought about it. He never did. I guarantee you, he had no concept of what he would do after he had his big duel with Ashlad and he won. He finally won. Never thought about it. It's sort of this final lesson from Ashlad to Thorfinn, where he says, like, you never thought about what you were gonna do after this. You foolish boy, like, this is why I hate kids. And then you see the ocean from Ashlad's point of view, and all I could think of was white shores, and beyond a far green country under a swift sunrise. It's a Lord of the Rings reference. Your boy's a hobbit. I like to make those references as often as I can. Gonna have to deal with it. But it is very fitting. I've always sort of viewed Vinland as this story's undying lands of a sort. And seeing that moment of him telling Thorfinn, like, go to where your old man is, and you become a true warrior. And then that's it. Ashlad's gone. And Thorfinn doesn't know what to do. He swipes at my boy, and sinks the ship in the process. I mean, I already wasn't a big fan of the Thorfinn Connaught ship, so I guess that's sunk. And then we get the dagger scene, and this is the perfect way to end the episode, in my opinion. Is Thorfinn still not fully grasping what's happened, and he's reaching out for Ashlad's body, and because his hand is outstretched, the dagger falls, and we see the dagger slowly drop to the ground, and as it does, the entire show flashes in the dagger. Like all the years that Thorfinn has been running with Ashlad, all that time represented in that dagger, and then it hits the ground. God damn it, that was brilliant. It was such a good scene. And then it sort of is followed up by these like flashes of these different characters. Now, I don't have even the faintest glimmer who these people are. I think one of them may have been Prince Connaught. I think it looked like him, like the one with the bandana kind of looked like him. There was, I think there was somebody from Vinland. It looked like an Aboriginal person, which as an Aboriginal person myself, I'm very excited to see people from Vinland. Make it happen, it'd be cool. Got to see some of my own people represent. And then there's this dude on a boat towards the end. Is that Thorfinn? I have no idea who that is. I will say that felt like it was specifically for manga fans, like people who know the story. So that to me, I'm like, oh, that's cool for manga fans. That's really interesting. But to me, like the episode ended with the dagger hitting the ground, and that was the end of the prologue. And yeah, everything else after that felt like it was more of a tease for manga fans. Because for me, I was like, I don't know who those people are, but it looks cool. But yeah, the whole season, the episode and the season end with the dagger finally hitting the floor, Thorfinn finally releasing the dagger, and it just falling to the ground. And yeah, that's Vinland Saga. That's Vinland Saga season 1. That's all she wrote. Now my last two notes here, I just have season 2 ? And Farmland Saga ? I have been seeing the last 2 weeks. All I've been seeing is, yo man, Farmland Saga. Yo JoJo, Farmland Saga. And I'm like, y'all, I don't read the manga. I have no idea what we're talking about. I have to assume that it's an entire arc set on a farm. Like maybe Thorfinn goes and builds a farm. I don't know. I will say that your boy is a fan of a certain other series whose second season also happened to be set on a farm, and it was really boring. So I'm kind of hoping that Farmland Saga isn't exactly Walking Dead Season 2. That's all I'm saying. But speaking of Season 2, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and say that we're definitely getting it. I highly doubt we're not going to see Vinland Saga Season 2. It wasn't quite as popular as I thought it was going to become, which is a little surprising. But I do think everybody who has seen Vinland Saga loves Vinland Saga, and it's one of those shows that I think will get more popular as the second season arrives, because more people will have like recommended it to friends. It's one of those like word of mouth shows that needs to grow by the end of the season. So yeah, I do think that we're getting a second season. We did see the official Twitter put out this little, like, they called it a movie, and people thought like, oh, are we getting a Vinland Saga movie? That sucks. Like, I want a season 2, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that too for a second, right? When you read the tweet for a second, you're like, movie, what? But I think they meant the video itself, like, that they're saying, like, we have a special movie for you. Like, I think they meant a special, like, video here, watch this. And at the end is this clip where it says, this is the story of a true warrior. And it's what appears to be Thorfinn, I think, with some kind of farming tools. So I'm assuming that this is a tease for Season 2, aka Farmland Saga, and I'm just excited as all hell for Season 2. I don't know where the hell you go from here, but I am also excited to find out what the hell Farmland Saga means. So, you know, color me intrigued. And on that note, everybody, I'm going to wrap up my thoughts here. I don't want to end it. I don't want to end this video, but I have to. And I'm going to give this week's episode a rating of S. And I know that I said before that I would only give S ranks to episodes that I feel had no faults. So that tells you how much I enjoyed this finale. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this Vinland Saga adventure. and I will hopefully see you whenever Season 2 drops. Keep an eye on Wit's Twitter. Maybe they'll say something soon, but until then, take care, and thanks for joining me in all these videos. It is so appreciated. And that's gonna do it for today's video, everybody. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Before we go, as always, I have to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier. Calvin Atkinson, Crowbar of Irony, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Steven, Sukochi, Tristan, and Verdon. Thank you all so much for your continued support over on Patreon. It is so appreciated. And if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out the first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get over there, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord. But with all that said, everybody, I am going to take off. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea. And I will talk to you all again real soon.